Tom Jones, the Welsh powerhouse with a voice that could melt hearts and raise roofs, rose from humble beginnings to become an international superstar, but his seemingly perfect life was full of broken promises, short-lived relationships, and deep loss. He sold over 100 million records and was adored by women all over the world. His affairs were legendary, including one with a former Miss World and a fling that led to a son he never acknowledged. In his later years, a devastating loss made him question whether fame and money could fill him up. From a young age, singing was Tom Jones's safe place. It filled family gatherings, weddings, and even the halls of his schools, Wood Road Infant School in Treforest. He was born Thomas John Woodward on June 7, 1940, at 57 Kingsland Terrace and Treforest. His parents were Frida Jones and Thomas Woodward, a coal miner. When his heritage was mostly English with a touch of Welsh from his mother's side. Watch until the end to find out the untold story of Tom Jones. Even though he went to Road Junior School and later Pontypridd Central Secondary Modern School, his promising voice couldn't protect him from hardship. When he was 12, he got tuberculosis, which kept him in bed for 2 long years. It was a time of fear and loneliness, but his passion found a way. Music from the radio filled the hours he was stuck, and as his health got better, his determination grew. Inspired by the sounds that had kept him alive, he adopted a singing style, Tom Jones. But his path wasn't clear. He wanted to follow in his father's footsteps, so to support himself while he pursued his dream, he did menial jobs like construction work and working in a glove factory. It was a far cry from the stages he imagined, but Nights had a different plan. He was the lead singer for the local band Tommy Scott and the Senators, and his voice could be heard rising above the noise of working men's clubs. It was a force in the making. If he didn't fully understand it yet, fate stepped in when his manager Gordon Mills saw his talent and saw the potential beneath the rough exterior. A new era was about to begin, one with bright lights, loud crowds, and the love of countless fans. Mills saw the potential that lay beneath the rough exterior and changed his young charge's name to Tom Jones, which had a bit of a Hollywood shimmer to it and fit the powerhouse voice he was about to unleash. Signing a deal with Decca Records in 1964 seemed like a dream come true. His first single, Chills and Fever, didn't do well when it came out in late 1964. It wasn't until the rebellious pirate radio stations picked up his follow-up song, It's Not Unusual, that his full-throated baritone voice became famous. In early 1965, It's Not Unusual became the #1 song in the UK charts and even made it into the top 10 in the US. It marked Tom Jones's arrival as a major force in the British invasion. Hollywood quickly came calling, and Jones began singing theme songs. After Jones began singing theme songs and the cult hit 150 million on Spotify, he set out to make 150 million on HBO, and he began creating the reputation that lingers with him today. For blockbuster movies, starting with 1965's James Bond epic Thunderball. He also provided the voice for the quirky Burt Bach song What's New Pussycat, which came out the same year. Winning a Grammy for Best New Artist in 1966 was the cherry on top of an already amazing year. Even Elvis Presley, the undisputed king, took notice. They met on the set of Paramount Studios in 1965 and became friends, but as the decade went on, the initial excitement began to fade. Gordon Mills, ever the strategist, knew they needed to change. He subtly changed Tom Jones's image, turning him from a rough rhythm and blues singer to a suave crooner. Songs like I'll Never Fall in Love Again, 1967, and the famous Delilah Exquita Z 68 kept him near the top of the UK charts, expanding his reach and making sure he stayed relevant in a music scene that was changing quickly. Las Vegas became his new home. His debut at the Flamingo Hotel in 1967 was a sensation. Gone were the simple suits. In their place were open shirts, tight pants, and an unashamedly sex appeal that drove fans. Tom Jones was a big hit in Las Vegas, where he performed year after year until 2011. His deep voice could be heard throughout the casinos. His fame took him to TV with the wildly successful variety show This Is Tom Jones, which ran from 1969 to 1971 and aired on both sides of the Atlantic. It made him a household name and earned him a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor in 1970. A second, shorter love variety show called Tom Jones ran from 1980 to 1981, but neither was as successful. Legal battles with production companies over unpaid royalties that would last for years. This was a hidden cost of his fame. The 1970s were a mixed bag for the Welsh superstar. He toured non-stop with backing bands like Quiet Elegance and the Blossoms, still making hits like She's a Lady and Say You'll Stay Until Tomorrow. But his popularity started to drop as music changed. He proved he could adapt, though, by scoring a major U.S. country hit with Say You'll Stay Until Tomorrow. In 1976, he tried his hand at more TV work by co-starring with Jennifer O'Neill in the special London Bridge Special, 1972. Bigger plans, like playing a CIA assassin in the 1976 movie Yaka Wald, fell through because of money problems. His full acting debut was in 1979's Pleasure Cove, an unsuccessful attempt to start a TV series. From guest roles on Fantasy Island to singing with stars like Raquel Welch, Tom Jones never shied away from the camera. In the early 1980s, he started a new musical career and found success but this change didn't lead to success in the UK. Things took a turn for the worse when his longtime manager and mentor Gordon Mills died in 1986. His son Mark took over his career, and it wasn't long before he was back on the UK charts with Boy From Nowhere. The next year, his brave cover of Prince's Kiss, which he did with Art of Noise, went viral in both the UK and the US, and the MTV video that went with it brought a new, younger audience to Tom Jones and his music. Tom Jones's fame led to a lot of exciting experiences. He got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and worked with musical giants like Van Morrison, solidifying his place in the industry. He also became interested in pop culture and made cameos on shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, 1993, and The Simpsons, 1992. He proved he could adapt by signing with InScope Records in 1993. His hosting job at the MTV Europe Music Awards the next year showed off his charisma beyond the microphone. Then there was his unforgettable performance in The Full Monty in 1997, where he sang You Can Leave Your Ad On. His 1999 album Reload was a huge hit, featuring duets with The Cardigans and Robbie Williams. It went straight to #1 in the UK, and the explosive single Sex Bomb reminded everyone that he still had that signature swagger that the new millennium had given him. Tom Jones had a great year. He started the new century in style by performing at President Bill Clinton's star-studded New Year's Eve party in Washington, D.C. His powerful voice even made its way into sports when he was chosen to sing a rousing song for Australia's National Rugby League. Tom received a lot of praise in the music industry, including the prestigious Brit Awards for Best British Male and Outstanding Contribution to Music. Never one to rest on his laurels, he tried something new with the album Mr. Jones. This showed that he was willing to change, even after decades of fame. When V-Phone Divas called in 2004, he didn't think twice about sharing the stage with famous female singers like Patti LaBelle and Glastonbury Knight. Despite his worldwide fame, Tom never forgot his Welsh roots. In 2005, he went back to his hometown of Pontypridd for a triumphant concert in front of a crowd of thousands, his first show there in over 40 years. It seemed like Wales was proud to claim him. That same year, the BBC named him Wales's wealthiest entertainer. Working with other legends like Australian pop star John Farnham kept the creative juices flowing. The highest honor came when Queen Elizabeth II made him a knight in 2006. The title didn't slow him down at all. He rocked out with Joe Stone and Aerosmith's Joe Perry at the star-studded 2007 concert for Diana and Creed. He was a lifelong boxing fan, and his powerful anthems were used as the soundtrack for several high-profile fights. Tom Jones's 2010 album Praise and Blame dove headfirst into blues and gospel, showcasing his enduring vocal power on songs by legends like Bob Dylan and John Lee. Later albums, like 24 Hours, marked the start of new chapters, fueled by a relentless touring schedule that would put artists half his age to shame. With every award and every electrifying performance, it was clear that the fire within Tom Jones showed no signs of fading. The new decade brought a stunning musical shift for Tom Jones. The industry wasn't on board at first. Leaked emails showed that David Sharp, a label executive, thought the project was a sick joke. Tom Jones was furious. The betrayal made him even more determined. His fiery performance of Burning Hell with Jonathan Ross on Friday night and the album's #2 debut on the UK charts proved the doubters wrong. By this time, he had sold over 100 million records, which shows how popular he still is. In 2010, he performed at the Help for Heroes charity concert at Twickenham Stadium in front of a huge crowd and made his mark on the legendary Late Show with David Letterman. Working with others seemed to be his motto as he contributed his voice to Hugh Laure's Blues debut album and appeared in Laure's music-themed TV series Perspectives. In 2011, he shared the stage on American Idol with the next generation of talent. In 2012, Jones collaborated with Jack White, former lead singer of the White Stripes. The limited edition tricolored vinyl release of the hard-hitting single Evil was a nod to Spiller's Records, a Cardiff store that Jones used to frequent as a child and which is the world's oldest record store. In the 2010s, he became famous again thanks to his role as a coach on The Voice UK. Leanne Mitchell won the first series, but Jones's journey on the show was rocky. Despite her success, her contract wasn't renewed in 2015, which was a surprise decision made by a BBC executive. With only 24 hours' notice, the news of his firing seemed to come out of nowhere, leaving him shocked and angry. He spoke out about his disappointment, especially about the lack of basic courtesy from BBC executives after 4 years of dedicated service to the show. Instead of a conversation or a collaborative decision, Tom was just told he would no longer be a part of the program. This impersonal and abrupt handling of the situation seems to be the main source of his anger, even though he knows that things could change. In a show, he'd expect a certain level of respect and communication, which he felt was lacking in this case. His social media comments praised the hard-working production team and the talented performers, making it clear that his commitment to the show went beyond protecting his own position. He ended with what seemed like a bittersweet farewell, wishing The Voice UK well, even though his involvement ended so quickly. Fans were probably disappointed by his departure. Tom brought a unique perspective to the judging panel thanks to his decades of experience. Although he wasn't as good of a mentor as some of the other judges, he kept making music. The album's Spirit in the Room included covers of songs by big names like Paul McCartney and Leonard Cohen. He even tried his hand at acting by starring in the one-off drama King of the Teds. At the Queen's Diamond Jubilee concert that same year, he sang Delilah in front of Buckingham Palace, showing how famous he has become. Festivals were familiar with his booming voice. Some people were surprised when he opened for Morrissey at a show in the US in 2014. That same year, he rocked the Australian Football League's grand final with Ed Sheeran by his side. In 2015, Long Lost Suitcase finished his album Trilogy, which was deeply connected to his autobiography. Producers like Ethan Johns helped him bring songs by the Rolling Stones and Hank Williams back to life. He stayed a regular on BBC Children in Need and ended the year with a duet with Paul Weller on Jouet's annual Hootenanny. The Voice UK brought him back in 2017 for another round as a coach, followed by a huge summer tour in 2018. Unfortunately, illness and bad weather forced several shows to be cancelled. He continued to grace Jou's annual Hootenanny with his presence, working with Jools Holland and rising star Celeste. In 2021, he released Surrounded by Time, another covers album full of carefully chosen tracks, including his moving performance of I Won't Crave With You. If You Fall, on The Voice UK in 2022 was especially important to him because he dedicated it to his late wife, whose words during her battle with cancer had given him strength during a hard time. The song went straight to the top of the iTunes charts and became a bittersweet anthem of love and loss. Tom Jones, the famous ladies' man, had an unlikely secret weapon, his unwavering love for Linda, his childhood sweetheart. Their story began in the heart of the Welsh Valleys, where they grew up just 200 yards apart. By the time they were 14, hearts were racing as they planned when to run errands, to be together. Their crush turned into a teenage romance, but their lives took a sudden turn when Linda Trenchard unexpectedly became pregnant, forcing them to get married quickly. On March 2, 1957, Tommy Woodward and Linda Trenchard, both 16 years old, were married at the Pontypridd Register Office soon after their son Mark was born, making their young family official. Linda, who worked as an assistant in a drapery shop, saw her husband's potential as a star. As the lead singer of the band Tommy Scott and the Senators, Tom's wife Linda always encouraged him to follow his dreams. Even when he changed his name to the famous Tom Jones because of a hit movie, she didn't lose faith in him. However, the temptations of fame were too much for Tom, and he admitted to having many affairs during his peak years. Some of these affairs with other famous stars caused major problems in his marriage. One particularly long affair began in 1968 during a U.S. tour and ended in 1972. 2 years later, Linda became suspicious when she learned that Mary had flown to the UK to see Tom perform in Bournemouth. Their secret relationship wasn't always easy. One story says Mary almost ran away from Tom's apartment just before an angry Linda arrived for a fight. Surprisingly, Linda ended up becoming friends with Mary. Mary became like a member of the Jones family and even knew their son Mark. Tom and Mary stayed close friends until Mary's death in 2021. Tom Jones became a man very quickly after having his son Mark when he was only 16. He says that a sense of responsibility drove him to succeed. The relationship between Tom and Mark is less like that of a father and son and more like that of brothers. Their close age difference and shared life experiences have helped create this unique dynamic. Mark became Tom's manager in 1986, which was a turning point in his career. Mark knew his father's talent and goals better than anyone else, and his goal was to help Tom reach those goals. Break free from the tuxedo singer stereotype, which helped his music appeal to a wider audience. Tom says that Mark knows what's in his heart, which built trust between them that led to a professional and personal relationship. It's been said that Mark, who is only 3 years older than Tom's ex-wife Charlotte Laws, helped his father find women while working as his manager. These are serious accusations that haven't been directly proven, but they add a troubling layer to their story. Mark is worth an estimated $300 million. Tom Jones has certainly lived a luxurious life, but financial security wasn't always a given. In 1974, the UK's high tax rates forced him to make the difficult decision to move his family to the US and apply for tax exile status. This led them to Los Angeles, where they found a house in the exclusive Eastgate area that had been the home of the famous Dean Martin, reported paying $500,000 for the property in 1976. Which was a lot of money at the time, but a drop in the ocean compared to the price Nicolas Cage paid for it from them in 1998, a cool $6.469 million. Despite the sunshine and the beautiful mansion, Linda, Tom's wife, never really settled down in the U.S. A part of her always longed for their home country. Sadly, illness kept them from returning while she was still alive, but in her last days, she made Tom promise to honor their shared dream to one day move back to. They also owned a large villa with over 8,100 square feet of living space in the Mand Estate neighborhood. After Linda's death, he sold the villa and an adjacent lot for a total of $1.28 million. He chose to move to an apartment in London, which felt more familiar and comforting. His friendship with Elvis Presley was the highlight of his life. They met on the set of Paradise Hawaiian Style in 1965 and hit it off right away. They became close and often spent nights singing together at Elvis's famous Vegas suite. They respected each other, and it was Tom's electrifying live shows that inspired Elvis to return to the stage for his famous Vegas residency. Elvis is said to have told Tom that seeing one of Tom's shows reignited his own desire to connect with live audiences. Tom, in a way, helped bring the magic of live Elvis back to the world after a string of less than stellar movies. Their time together wasn't just for work. They'd hang out at each other's homes, catch other artists' shows, and just hang out together. So, years later, Tom told an interesting story that shows how much Elvis admired another rock and roll legend. After seeing Chuck Berry perform, Elvis told Tom that Berry was the real king of rock and roll. It was the highest compliment from one icon to another. Tom still honors these friendships at his concerts by playing songs like Great Balls of Fire and Johnny B. Good that honor their shared love of rock and roll, and artists like Elvis and Chuck Berry who helped shape its sound. Sadly, Elvis's untimely death in 1977 ended their friendship. In 2017, the legendary Welsh singer Tom Jones began a relationship with Priscilla Presley, the famous former wife of Elvis Presley. The news of their relationship shocked the media, and people were fascinated by both of them because they were famous figures from their own eras. However, Priscilla's achievements outside of her marriage to Elvis go far beyond her fame. She's married to the king of rock and roll. She's a talented actress, a smart businesswoman, and her successful fragrance line shows how popular and influential she still is. Their shared love of music and the entertainment industry helped them connect. Even though Tom is 80 and Priscilla is 78, they found things they had in common, and the spark that started their relationship doesn't hide in the shadows. They often walk red carpets and events together, their smiles and body language showing a genuine love. Supporting each other's endeavors seems to be a top priority, as shown by how often they attend each other's performances. Another positive sign is that their families are happy for them. Tom's son, Mark Woodward, has said that he is proud of his father and how his relationship with Priscilla brings him joy and support. This family blessing probably takes away any tension and lets them focus on building their relationship without any outside interference in 2024. Focusing on the present rather than rushing into big milestones, they seem happy to enjoy their time together, making memories and living day to day. Maybe their stress-free attitude, given their famous lives and pasts, is what's keeping their relationship healthy and drama-free. Last November, Tom Jones caused concern among The Voice fans during a performance when a worrying mark was seen on his face, prompting a flood of online comments telling him to get it checked out. As always, Tom was the consummate professional, stayed focused on the show but later took to social media to reassure fans. He shared a video of his duet with a contestant, subtly letting everyone know that he was aware of the concern and probably taking steps to address it. The 83-year-old superstar has had health problems in the past, including needing not one but 2 hip replacements. Before his first surgery, he admitted that he had trouble getting through even a few songs without going outside. He made the necessary lifestyle changes, including a major weight loss effort, because the extra pounds were putting a strain on his body, especially his hips. When he was at his heaviest, he couldn't fit into his stage clothes, which was a wake-up call for the fashion-conscious singer. While Tom has been open about some problems, he keeps some things private. For example, the exact nature of the mark that caused concern on The Voice has never been confirmed, but fans can still guess. You can rest easy knowing that he seems to be taking care of his health by scheduling surgeries during tour breaks and making the changes to his lifestyle that are needed to keep performing at his best. Tom Jones is living his best life at age 83. If you liked this look into his incredible journey, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.